if you really pay attention, if you really make a decision today, if you really zoom in and focus on what I have to tell you today, I think that this could be life changing and life defining for you from here on out for the next 20 or 30 years of your life. Hey, listener, welcome to episode number 99 of Listen Up. Can you believe we are one episode away from our 100th episode together? I feel like that is a big deal. I know in the podcast world, 100 episodes is a milestone moment for podcasters. I don't know exactly what the data is on it, but I know that there are some statistics that are revolving around that milestone. So I'm really excited to figure that out. But it just feels like such a privilege and an honor to have showed up here consistently, episode after episode, and be so close to hitting the 100th mark. I don't know. I think it's really cool. And I just want to thank you. Thank you for being here and riding this journey with me and coming back every week to listen to these episodes, because without you, I would have no one to speak to. So thank you for being here. And I'm also really looking forward to next week's episode because I am inviting my husband to be interviewed for the very first time here on the podcast. Of course, having him as the highlight of the 100th episode is very appropriate because, he's my guy. So I'm very excited about doing that as well. But nonetheless, that is not what today's episode is about. I just wanted to give you the little preview of what's coming next week. Today, however, I want to talk to you about a concept that I think can really be a game changer in your life. If you really pay attention, if you really make a decision today, if you really zoom in and focus on what I have to tell you today, I think that this could be life changing and life defining for you from here on out for the next 20 or 30 years of your life. And the concept stems around this principle. Having good intentions is not the same thing as living with intention. And a surefire way to let your life land in the good intentions category instead of the live with intention category is by allowing yourself to become a drifter. Now, let me explain where this came from and how this was highlighted for me and what we can do about it. So this weekend was my mom's 77th birthday, and my brother had an idea. He suggested that we all get together, all his kids and their spouses and their children, all of us get together at my mom's house to both celebrate her birthday and be with her and clean out her home office. Now, the reason that he had this idea was because my mom has been dealing with a very cluttered home office for a long time. She's been wanting to make some improvements to her house, and a lot of it depends on clearing out this home office. And it's been lingering for her forever, and she doesn't know how to tackle it. I'm sure you've experienced this at some point in your life where a project seems so big that you don't even know where to start. So it's almost bigger than you, and therefore you become paralyzed by it. That's how she was with the home office. She didn't even know where to begin. And as time goes by, there's always that one room in your house that starts collecting all of your extra things or the things you don't want to deal with, or whatever, just everything kind of gets thrown into this one area. And that is something that you have to tackle at some point. We've all done that. Maybe it's in the garage or a junk drawer or a room, an extra room. That's what my mom's office had become. So my brother said, listen, the best gift we could give her is to do this for her so that she gets the outcome of a cleaned up space and she can make the other improvements that she wants to make. And so we all got together and we began this project. Now, I will say it was very bold and courageous of my mother to allow us into her home to tackle this project for her, because it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable to have somebody going through your things, making you make hard decisions, especially when you don't want to make those decisions and when you don't want to get rid of a lot of things. Like it, this was not a comfortable process for her. And she was such a trooper. She totally allowed us to go in there and tackle the room. Um, she did her best. God bless her. She's absolutely the best. At some point, she even got a little emotional because she was like, "Oh my God, I feel like I'm dead." I feel like I'm watching my family as if I were not here anymore, go through all of my things and like throw away my things. It was very unsettling for her. But like I told her, the difference is that if she were dead, it would be a sad experience. But because she was alive, we got to enjoy the experience with her and read old letters that we've written to each other, look at old pictures that came up, laugh about certain things, just revisit the different eras of her life that popped up in the home office. And it was actually quite a beautiful experience to do that with her and not wait until she passed away to do that. So it was, all in all, it was a win. But it was also an important moment of reflection for me. You see, as I started going through her things and sorting through her things, I found all sorts of, the best way to describe it is unrealized dreams that my mother had the best intentions to fulfill. For example, she had a bunch of supplies to do scrapbooking, like to make photos into digital prints. She had photo paper. She had arts and crafts things. She had blank journals. She had coloring books and coloring pencils. Like she had all of these things. She had a pair of dumbbells, just all of these things. And when I would ask her about these things that I would find, she would say to me, "Oh, that was like a project that I wanted to do after I retired." Or, "Yeah, because I wanted to start exercising and I bought those dumbbells." Or, "Yeah, because I wanted to write my life story and I had bought that, book program so that I can write my life story." Like she had just all these little projects that she wanted to do upon retirement. You see, my mom, she is a hard worker. She devoted her life to two things: family and her work. For most of her life, she was either the sole supporter of our home or the breadwinner, in the home. So work was never an option for her. It was about survival. She had to work, and she worked a lot in order to pay the bills and put food on the table and give us all the life that we wanted. She really worked very, very hard. So her life consisted of working and spending time with her family, which is really code word for solving problems for her family, right? Putting fires out for her family, driving us here, driving us there, cooking, cleaning, taking care of us, taking us to the doctor, taking care of us when we were sick, rinse and repeat. That's all she ever did, was devote her life to work and to us and to our kids and her spouse and her family, her parents, like whoever is in her circle she could take care of, she took care of. And God bless her, because she is the most amazing human on the planet and has done so much for all of us. Like none of us would be who we are without her. But in the process, she also stepped into the identity of being selfless and focusing on everyone else so fervently that she forgot about herself. She never made herself a priority. She never took care of the things that she needed to take care of in her own health, in her own life, in her own, with her own desires and dreams. And she kept postponing those things until the day that she would finally have the time to do so. And she thought that that would be upon retirement. But here's what actually happened. By the time that she retired, she was no longer in the same energy to be able to take advantage of the time that she now had. You see, she had been drifting for so long from herself that she had built a habit and a lifestyle too far from the version of her that she wanted to live upon retirement. To give you an example, she never took care of herself physically. So by the time that she retired, I mean, she retired late in life. I mean, she's an older person and she worked until like the other day. But by the time that she retired, she hadn't built enough physical habits. So she struggles with a lot of pain in her joints, in her arms, in her back. She just doesn't feel well. So then when you don't feel well, it robs you of your energy to do things that would be fun and active. She also didn't establish good sleeping habits, and they've gotten worse, especially after retirement. Instead of getting better, they've gotten worse. So her lack of sleep makes her a little foggy, and then she forgets things, and she doesn't feel like she has a lot of mental clarity, and then she feels distracted. She's developed a habit of shopping, and that habit in her mind is her taking care of everybody else. So now instead of coloring, she's looking for shoes for our kids, or she's looking for things that's just to buy her her kids or her grandkids or herself, right? Like she's constantly distracted. She also didn't count on the how she was going to feel emotionally upon retirement. So she wasn't feeling as energetic as she was before. She felt more tired, she felt sadder, she had just drifted too far from that dream that she had had once in her life. Living with intention is an active process. It demands for you to repeatedly come back to yourself and ask, what do I actually want right now in this season of my life? And then make decisions to support that. Drifting is about living a life by default. You are constantly reacting to what is happening in front of you, answering to the daily demands instead of intentionally carving out space for the version of you want to become. As I looked across that office, I looked at my mom and all the beautiful intentions that she's had her whole life. What she didn't have was a system and a rhythm to bring those intentions to life. My mom didn't drift because she was lazy or because she didn't care or because she was not capable or even because she didn't have the time. She drifted because she was so devoted to the identity of being everything for everyone that she never built habits or a lifestyle to support her own well-being. She kept procrastinating on herself. And every time she postponed herself, the habit of postponing herself got a little stronger until one day she didn't even remember who that was anymore. She forgot about the coloring books. She forgot about the printer. She forgot about the dumbbells. She forgot about the arts and crafts. She just it wasn't top of mind anymore. She had drifted away from it. That is how drift works. It doesn't announce itself. It shows up subtly, just inviting you to feed the distraction, inviting you to feed the noise, inviting you to feed the chaos, inviting you to ignore yourself. It's quiet and it's gradual. And it is usually an accumulation of 1,000 small decisions to put yourself last until it doesn't feel like a decision anymore. It just feels like it's your life. So I want to ask you a question today. What is the equivalent of your home office? Where do you have great intentions that you keep procrastinating and not tackling right now, today, in your life, because you are allowing circumstances and life to take over your daily decisions. Because what I realized by looking at my mom is that day doesn't come on its own. The retired version of you, the less busy version of you, the version of you who finally has space to breathe, isn't going to necessarily have the health, the energy, the resources or the support when you have the time that you think she's going to have, unless you start building that version of her right now, in this season, in the middle of the mess, in the middle of the busyness, in the middle of the responsibilities. This is exactly what the Live with Intention framework is designed to support you with. This is not a motivational concept. It is about building a practice and a rhythm. And it has 3 parts. The first is notice. Where are you right now? What is actually going on in your life, in your body, in your habits, in your relationships? Not where you wish you were, not where you plan to be, where you actually are. Notice what you are doing well. Notice where you are succeeding, where you are thriving. Pat yourself on the back when you need to, because that is equally as important as noticing where the gaps are. Notice what is working and also notice what is not working. Then you name what is and you name what you desire. You name what is and you name what you desire. What is the intention for your month, for your season, for this year? What direction are you heading toward? What is the identity you are building toward, one small decision at a time? Maybe you're not even close to retirement. You might be in the middle of the middle years. And retirement feels so far away that you don't think that the decision that you make today is going to have any bearing on the decisions you're going to make 10 years from now, 15 years from now, 20 years from now. But it's about building the habit of who you are becoming that is going to decide that version of you when that time comes. What decisions are you circling around? Are you allowing yourself to be consumed by thinking energy? What loops are you not closing because you are allowing yourself to drift? And the third is nurture. What habits, practices, thoughts, small, consistent actions do you need to be taking to support those intentions? Not a burn the boats, abandon your life, change your circumstances, get divorced, quit your job, do all those things. Do those things happen sometimes? Yes, they happen. Are they necessary for you to create a different rhythm? Not necessarily. I'm not asking you to do a complete overhaul of your life. I'm asking you to just notice, name, and nurture an identity that you don't want to forget. A version of yourself you don't want to lose. Whether it's doing something fun or scrapbooking or having a relationship with your friends or traveling or exercising or dancing or singing or writing a book or creating a dream project, whatever that thing is. How are you nurturing that now? Because now is what's setting you up for later. Now matters. You don't have to tackle everything right now, but at least put yourself in a position that will allow you to nurture that part of you when you are ready. This is the difference between having good intentions and living with intention. Because I'll tell you one thing, we all have the capacity to drift in one area or the other. And if we're not paying attention, if we're not intentional, we don't get to our goals. So I'll tell you something that came up for me. When I started this year, my word of the year was excellence. I follow Jesse Itzler, and Jesse Itzler talks about having a misogi for the year. And the misogi that I wanted for this year was to be able to do an unassisted pull-up. I know it's random, but it's just something that I want. I want to be able to do an unassisted pull-up. And I have a friend of mine, her name is Tennille. She's a running buddy of mine. She's been sending me Instagram videos on things that I have to do to be able to do an unassisted pull-up. And one of the things is this exercise with a machine where you bring down the weight of the machine of the, it's like a bar lat exercise, I think it is. And you bring it down and like you have to be able to increase your weight and increase your weight and increase your weight until you can bring down like your own body weight. And then you'll be able to lift yourself up. That's like one of the routines. But in order for me to do that, I need to have that machine accessible. And I belong to a gym that doesn't have those machines because I go to F45, so I do classes and I don't have that machine at home. So I keep thinking to myself that I'm going to go on the weekends with my husband and I'm going to do those machines. And I have done the machine when I've traveled with him and we've had a gym in our hotel and there's a machine there. I've done it, but I've done it maybe a total of 3 or 4 times since I came up with this misogi in January. So here we are in March and I'm not even close to mastering an unassisted pull-up. In fact, yesterday I went to F45 and one of the exercises was pull-ups and I had to use the band and I put one band and I was able to get like one pull-up up and I was like, okay, I need more bands. So I had to put an extra band to do another pull-up. And as I was looking at myself, I was thinking about my mom's home office. I was thinking, if I really want to satisfy the misogi of doing an unassisted pull-up, then I can't just do my status quo exercises that I've been doing up until now. I could have the best intentions of doing a pull-up, but that pull-up isn't going to happen all by itself. I've got to put it into my routine. I've got to calendar it. I've got to either join the gym that has that machine and put it into my rhythm and into my life. I have to schedule it. I have to be intentional. Or that unassisted pull-up isn't going to happen. Wishing that I can do an unassisted pull-up is not the same thing as making that an intention. So one of the decisions I have to make is that really my misogi for the year or not? Do I want it bad enough to actually tackle it, or am I going to abandon it? There's no right or wrong answer, by the way. Right now, I'm super focused on other things. I'm still doing my status quo exercises, and I get to decide if that is what I want to focus on right now or not. But if I do not pay close attention to it, I could see where I could drift further and further and further and further away from the version of myself who could ever do an unassisted pull-up. Because if I'm not intentional and careful, the older I get, the harder that challenge will be and it'll become. And if I drift too far, there may come a point where I no longer feel like there's any part of me that can tackle that challenge. And I don't want that either. So I really have to get intentional about who it is that I want to become. So I'm telling you this because if you have felt this way, if you are the kind of person who does not want to drift from your life, but rather build an intentional life, that is why I created my program, The Well. I built The Well because of women like the younger version of my mom. Not that I want to be dramatic about it, but genuinely, when I looked around that home office and I saw all those unrealized dreams, I thought, this is exactly why this work matters. It doesn't mean my mom hasn't had a beautiful life. It doesn't mean that my mom's life hasn't been meaningful or fulfilling or that she has so much to be proud of, because she does. She has so much to be proud of. She's built an incredible life, and she's raised a beautiful family, and she has so much to show for her life. But this isn't about what her resume shows. It's about what her daily life looks like. It's about the version of her she wanted to enjoy upon retirement, and seeing that she is not enjoying that version of her. In my mom's case, my mom's still alive, so she still has time to turn the table, shift the momentum, and start tackling that version of herself. I'm committed to helping her do that. Like, it doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter where you are in your life. You can always turn the tide. You can always create a transformation. You can always start shifting the momentum and heading in the direction of the version of you want to become. So I'm not giving up on my mom. But I also feel like I can help you to not have to start at 77, turning the tide, shifting the momentum, and reclaiming direction. I'd rather see you enjoying your life at 77 instead of having an uphill battle and climbing your way out of aches and pains and illness and not feeling your best and all the things that come with a life that hasn't had supportive habits. The Well is a year-long group coaching program for women who are capable and caring and are already doing so much, but who can easily and quietly lose themselves in the process. Women who are not in crisis. You are functional and strong and holding everything together, but if you're honest, you could see where you've been drifting in your life. Like, there is a gap between the life that you're living and the life that you would love to be nurturing. Inside the Well, we practice our Live with Intention framework, which is the notice, the name, and the nurture. And we do this every single week. We are not allowing dreams to be put in boxes and stored away in a home office closet. We are naming them. We are making decisions, and we are building habits to support those dreams. And we do it together inside a container that is calm, it is structured, and it is honest. I believe that 1 year in the Well is the difference between having good intentions and living a life of intention. It is the accountability and the support to keep you coming back to your intention and refusing to let yourself drift. If that sounds like what you need, I would like you to take one step today, just one. And that is to click the link in my show notes to learn about the Well. If you happen to be on my Sacred Sunday email newsletter, reply to my weekly email this week and let me know what is your metaphorical home office. So if you are listening to this and you feel like you are in the messy middle of your life, you're in the thick of it, you're still building your way towards your future, I want you to know that you have so much road ahead of you. And the best thing you can do with that road is to stop drifting and start building. Not someday, now. And know this, you are not your past mistakes. You are not your unrealized dreams. You are a woman who gets to decide today what intentions you will nurture and who you will become going forward. So that's all I've got for you today. Thank you for being here with me on episode number 99, and I will see you next week for our big 100. And until then, keep bringing yourself back to your intention and keep your eyes open so that you always find the sparks of bliss that are already within you. Bye. That's it for today's episode. Thanks so much for being here. I am deeply, deeply grateful to connect. If you're loving this podcast, I'd love if you'd follow, rate, or leave a review wherever you listen to podcasts. Those reviews help us so, so much. And if you know of someone who could really use a voice like mine in their head, please share this episode with them. Now, if you're feeling called to keep the conversation going, come join us inside the Blissin' Up community on Facebook. It is a free space to reflect and root into intention together. You can find the link in the show notes or just search Blissin' Up with Caroline de Posada on Facebook. I'd love to welcome you in. Until next time, take care and keep noticing the sparks of bliss in your life.